26. Can you imagine? We're already through the first month of January of the year. That's hard to imagine. How many of you have relationships that need improving? Can I see your hands? I think every hand goes up. We all have relationships that need improving. Today's topic is going to help you to understand people. And when you understand people, and I use it interchangeably, understand personality types. Sometimes I say brain types, but I mean the same thing. I use a couple different models of understanding personality types or brain types. One model is called DISC. D stands for direct. I is influencer. S is safe and secure. C is cautious. This is how different people think. In this one here, we call this one TARP, T-A-R-P. TARP stands for taking, a taking brain type. A is for attracting. R is for responding. And P is for preserving. We talked about this last week, more in depth. But just to give you a little small window into how people might think, if you give somebody with a taking brain type 3 pieces of candy, what are they going to do? They're going to gobble it down. All right? You give somebody with a preserving brain type 3 pieces of candy, they're probably going to save them. They're going to eat one today, one tomorrow, and one the next day. They're going to be very careful and cautious. Now, if they have a brother or sister who has the taking brain type, and they see where this preserving brain type has stashed their candy, they're going to take it. Oh, you don't like this candy? I'll eat it. No problem. You see how they think differently. And so that's what causes friction in relationships, is because we think differently. The attracting brain type. Now I'm going to counter Ann. Ann, are you still here? She said that we, as parents, treat all the children exactly the same. That's not really 100% correct. The attracting brain type is a very people-oriented person, and that includes mom. They know how to work mom. Okay, they're very happy. Oh, mom, you look so nice today. Can I have a piece of candy? Blah, blah, blah. You see? And the taking brain type is a bit tough. You're going to have to discipline them stronger than the preserving or the responding brain type. They're more sensitive. They're more artistic. And if you are too harsh with them, okay, supposing you have a mom or a dad that has a taking brain type, and the child has a preserving or a responding brain type. The biggest problem that we have in relationships is thinking that everybody else thinks like I think. We don't think the same by a long shot. Ann did a very good job in the other lesson of saying that's why we need each other on the team. And so as we go through this lesson, I hope you'll have some more understanding and also some more questions. I forgot to bring my water bottle today. Can somebody go get me a water bottle? Okay, so the lesson aim is to understand and appreciate other thinking styles and the benefits of connecting with God to become who you were created to be. Not just understanding other brain types, but appreciating other brain types. And we'll find that as we mature and become interdependent, that we appreciate that other people don't think like I think. On my podcast that Ann mentioned, Scott and I have completely different brain types. He is more of the preserving, taking, which is results-oriented. When it comes down to, do I get along with people or do I get results? He's going to go for results. I have the attracting, responding brain type by nature. I've developed the taking brain type by necessity. I am a people person. When it comes down to, do I want to get results or maintain a relationship, I'm going to opt for maintaining a relationship. I'll get the results later. Okay? So we have completely different thinking styles. Also, we have different beliefs. He wants to appeal to people who don't know if there is a God. I appeal to people who believe that there is a God and we believe in the Bible. And so, because we value each other and we see the advantages of different brain types, different thinking styles, different belief systems, one of my friends said, you have created a very, very unique dynamic. Very few people can do what we're doing because they would argue. They'd say, no, you're wrong. Of course there's a God. And I say, okay, I respect the fact that some people wonder. Maybe because they've been injured by someone who claims to know God. And that happens a lot. So don't be surprised when you listen to us if you hear that coming out, that we're different. Number one, there's a huge benefit in our homes, businesses, and communities when we understand ourselves and other people. So as you begin to understand yourself, then you'll say, God, I have this weakness and I have this strength. Use me, help me to overcome my weak areas. This person here, every brain type comes with an accompanying emotion. This one, the taking brain type, has the accompanying emotion of anger. Because they want to get results done quickly. They've learned that anger motivates people. That doesn't mean they're living in anger all the time, but they're a very direct person. So that tells us that that's something that anger is okay, because the Bible said, be angry and sin not. So we know that God gave us that motivation. Let me go into a side note here. If you just have a thought with no emotion, will you do anything? No. So you see the man beating the child on the street. Or you say, oh, there's a man beating the child on the street. Bring me a cup of tea, please. It's the emotion that's the engine to motivate your thoughts. So you have anger, or you have disgust, or you have fear for the safety of the child. That's what motivates you. So some people say, I just wish I could get rid of my emotions. No. If you got rid of your emotions, you'd be like this piece of wood here. You wouldn't do anything. You'd serve the purpose of surrounding the door or whatever purpose you had, but you wouldn't accomplish anything of value in life. So when we understand what I'm like, then we begin to understand how I'm going to think about treating other people, and the good parts and the bad parts. Number two, one of the biggest mistakes we've made in working with people is thinking everyone thinks like I think. We've covered that. Number three, high D. High D is taking personality. If this is the predominant personality style, this is your predominant thinking style, this is the way you're going to think. You're going to be very direct. You're going to be dominating. You're going to be problem-solving, results-oriented person who is risk-tolerant. You're not afraid of risk. All right? I have talked to you many, many times about no winter in Africa. Winter is never coming to Africa. All right, so as you think about brain types, you can understand that different localities have different brain types. Because people who are risk averse, the responding and the preserving brain type are risk averse, they don't like risk. Are they going to go out into a new country? No. So when you take the U.S. was settled by which kind of people from all over the world? Taking brain types. They said we need to solve problems. That doesn't bother us. The people who were left behind are the responding and preserving brain types. They're the more laid back, easy going, no hurry in Africa. No hurry. Tomorrow will work just as good as today. So you see, that's why different communities, different countries have different brain types, predominantly. All right. Now, in the U.S., people are more aggressive. They're more stubborn. They fight. They fight more. They have more anger issues. You know, I was driving here this morning, coming here, and there's a truck, and I analyzed the driver, a lorry. You call it a lorry here. I analyzed the driver's brain type. I think it was preserving, because instead of just driving off the road, he was inching. He wants to save the lorry. He's fearful. So, because he's so careful, people start coming around in front. Then he has to stop. You see? And so, me being taking brain type, I want to hoot, but I said, no, let me just be patient, because eventually he'll get off the road. Now, as soon as he's far enough off the road, there's a motorbike with a taking brain type that's trying to squeeze between me and the lorry. You see, in the U.S., you wouldn't do that. Somebody would be screaming at you. And giving you a bad gesture with their hand. We have problems with road rage in the U.S., and I don't see very much road rage here. So the difference is the thinking style, the culture. All right. The high D, they can come across as a bulldozer to accomplish their plans. Many people have been hurt or helped by this thinking style. And so they're motivators. And if I'm a high D and I want to accomplish something, and Peter's around, Pastor Peter, I'm going to say, Peter, I need you to do this. You say, no, I have some other plans. Put your plans off. You can do this and do your other plans later. You see? And yeah, they're high on authority. They love to take authority, but they don't always want to take the corresponding responsibility. That can be a challenge. So they have motivated. How could you have pioneers going into a new area if they didn't have some high D, some taking brain types? It'd be very tough. They wouldn't overcome. But at the same time, they can irritate you, because they force you to, you feel like they're forcing you, pushing you to do things you don't want to do. So if you are dealing with somebody who has a high D brain type, taking brain type, just know, maybe they're pushing me, but it's for my good. Maybe we're going to accomplish something that I wouldn't accomplish if this person wasn't in my life. The high I is the attracting personality style. This is number 4, is reactive. So they're the reactor to their surroundings. While they normally enjoy life, they have a tendency to fear 3 things. Because they're a people person, they want to be accepted. They're responding to the stimulus around them. They're responding to the people around them. They're molding themselves to become something that's acceptable. So if they're bad with a bad group of people, they quickly move into bad things, because that's what they see as being successful. If I'm with a group of people that are partying and drinking alcohol and smoking weed, then they just do it, because I have to be acceptable. I have to attract friends. All right. So what they fear is failure. There's always this constant little fear. They fear not being understood, and they fear not being liked. And some of us have that problem. We have to overcome that. That's something that in our life we have to say, God comes first. The opinion of other people comes behind that. And so when you have that brain type, you have a lot of friends, but they're more surface level friends, because today I can be with Kipchumba, and he can be telling me some of his wounds, and he's a preserving brain type. He assumes that I'm going to keep it to myself like he would. Tomorrow I'm with Silas, and because I'm not a preserving brain type, I'm sharing all of Kipchumba's problems with Silas. You see? And so eventually people don't share their deep part with attracting brain type unless the attracting brain type has learned to take responsibility and be confidential. So that's a problem that has to be overcome. Every brain type, there is no bad brain type. Every brain type has strengths, every brain type has weaknesses, and as we connect with God, we have power to overcome the weaknesses and to strengthen the strengths. High I people, they're normally very talkative, they're optimistic, and they see many opportunities. Some of them are beyond their capacity to execute. They have to have the other brain types. Oh, we can do this, we can do that. Wow, this would be a great idea. Why don't you do this? And so they spark enthusiasm with people. Oh, I never thought about that. Well, how would you do that? Well, Maina can do that. Maina's got that. He's got that gift. He can help us execute. He's the responding, preserving guy. He can make all the notes. He can do all the behind the scenes. You see? So a good team has all four of these. And they work together. And it's like Ann said, we don't see eye to eye, but we work arm in arm. Yeah. That's a very good point. I love that. So high I people, they tend to live in the future and believe that life will get better. If I'm a high I, attracting brain type, and Silas calls me and said, let's go to Bungoma next week. I want to go for a conference. I say, yeah, well, that sounds exciting. I think I'll wear my new shirt. All right, next week comes and Silas is waiting at the spot to pick me up, and I'm not there. And finally he calls, he said, Stuart, are you ready to go to Bungoma? Oh, I forgot, I had something else I was doing today. So once he learns that about me, then he calls, he said, do you want to go to Bungoma? Yes. Do you have any other plans? Oh, let me check my schedule. Yes, I can't go on Tuesday, maybe we can go on Wednesday. Then he calls again on Monday. He says, you're remembering that we're going to Bungoma on Wednesday? Yes, I remember. Then he calls me on Tuesday. What time will we meet tomorrow? Let's meet by 10. And then he calls me on Wednesday. And he keeps reminding me. Because he knows that I can forget. He knows that I might attract something else in the meantime. Yeah. He doesn't become frustrated because he understands my brain type. All right? Do you know of people like that?
Yeah.
Many of them, he said. All right. Okay, so high S, high S or responding personality types thrive in a safe and secure environment. They are very patient, they are helpful to other people, they're good listeners, but they keep their own feelings well hidden. Why? Because if you share your feelings, somebody might share them with somebody else, and then you don't feel safe anymore. They can keep their feelings so well hidden that they don't even know themselves what they're feeling. Somebody says, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. Any problems? No, everything is going good. Meanwhile, there's big problems in their life. But they can't share those problems for fear somebody will share them with somebody else, and it'll get back to that person, and they'll have more problems. They don't approach problems head on normally. We have to learn, if you have a responding brain type, that I have to communicate. I have needs. I have to take care of myself. I can't be used by everybody else. I have to set some boundaries. I have to say no. I have to take responsibility. The responding brain type, the accompanying emotion is the emotion of patience. Now, another word for patience can be stubbornness. I want what I want, and I want it however I'm going to get it. This person is going to get what they want by using anger. This person is by using optimism. They're going to attract what they need. This person is going to be stubborn. They say, no, we're not doing it that way. And stubborn way beyond what other people's stubbornness can possibly even imagine. You think eventually they'll give in. No, they don't. So, and I'm not pointing at you, but I'm just saying that a responding brain type, that's how they get what they want. The preserving brain type is just like that. They're high cautious. High C is cautious. They're very cautious. Like I said, you give a preserving brain type 3 pieces of candy, they're probably going to eat 1 today, 1 tomorrow, and 1 the next day. They might drive an older vehicle, but it's very well maintained. They always think about living in the past. What didn't work? But that didn't work. The taking brain type says, let's do this. No, I remember back there, that didn't work. And the attracting brain type says, yeah, but so what? We make some adjustments and it'll go on. So the preserving brain type is very analytical. They're the doctors. They're the engineers. We built a bridge the other year and it collapsed. It didn't work. We have to re-engineer it. They're thinking. I'm gonna poke some holes in somebody's status today. Somebody said it's better to be kind than to be right. Okay, what about, in most cases that's true, especially if you're an attracting or a responding brain type, but supposing you're the doctor that has to give the baby a shot, and if you don't give the baby a shot, he becomes sick and dies, but the baby doesn't like it. So is it better to be kind or is it better to do the right thing? In that case, it's better to do the right thing. So, I've had people challenge me on things that I've posted on Facebook before. They said, that's not an absolute. And so I've had to learn to use critical thinking skills. Is this statement applicable to all applications? It's better to be kind than to be right. And to me, that sounds good because that's the kind of person I am. I want to be kind to people. But I have to recognize that sometimes it's better to be right than to be kind. You have to do the right thing. And so I have to change my thinking style. I have to approach people. I have to say, look, what you did was wrong. You need to change that. Because if you keep on doing that, there's going to be a disaster. So there's no bad thinking styles. There's no thinking style that's better than another one or worse than another one. It's just that we need to modify our thinking style so that it is more in line with the divine nature of God. Now we'll move into the part where we connect with God and modify it. Number 7. Well, wait, let me finish number 6. High C, preserving personality styles. They're cautious, they're careful, they're calculating. They have a fear of not knowing enough, which makes it difficult for them to make decisions. They can get what's called paralysis of analysis. They analyze and analyze and analyze until they're paralyzed. They never get anything done because they're constantly saying, maybe I don't have enough information. Maybe what about in this situation? The engineer who's building the bridge, he's almost ready to put the plans out there, and then he thinks, oh, it's not just the weight of the vehicle, there's the pressure of the wind. Supposing this bridge is completely full of vehicles, and we have a very strong wind pushing on the side yet. Then it has to go back to the drawing board. You see how important this brain type is? How would you have these big structures in Nairobi if you didn't have a preserving brain type architect thinking about all the problems that could occur? Now you've got this taking brain type or attracting brain type that's thrown up this 17-story building, and there's thousands of people living in it or hundreds of people living in it. Everything is fine. But then you get a small earthquake. Very rare for Kenya, but you get a small earthquake and the whole thing collapses. So you have to take that into consideration. The preserving brain type said it might not happen. It only happens once every 100 years. But if it happens, we're going to have a big problem. And so they slow these people down. The joke is the taking brain type, he can have this inspiration, especially if he has some attracting in him, and he can take a serviette on the table and draw up some plans for a 17-story skyscraper. Now, are you going to be able to build the skyscraper from those plans on that serviette? No. It's going to take months for an architect with a preserving brain type, possibly with other brain types, but to think about all the problems. How's the water going to go through here? How's the electric going to go through here? Where's the electrical boxes going to be? Where's the sewer lines going to be? They have to think about all those things. So the problem is, while they're thinking about that, especially in social settings, they tend to feel left out. Because by the time they're thinking of their response, the conversation has moved on. They have a very, very well thought out response, but the conversation has already moved on. So they feel overlooked. So if you're going to utilize the preserving brain type properly, you have to draw out their input. If Mikasa has a preserving brain, and I know that, and we're all having a discussion here and he's remaining silent, I know it's because he's thinking about things that the rest of us haven't thought about. And so I say, Mikasa, do you have any input? Yes, but I'm still thinking. Okay, we'll give it some time. But if I push him, if I'm the taking brain type, I say, no, just give your input, and I start pushing him, it's not going to go well. Because the preserving brain type can have anger also. They're results oriented. So that's the other thing. When you don't really, really understand all of this well, don't be trying to diagnose other people. Because supposing you've got a very patient, responding person, they're at a party, and somebody doesn't know them, and this patient, responding person is dashing through the crowd. They're pushing. They're shoving. They're very, very focused. And so you say, oh, I'm a behavioral analyst. I know which brain type you have. Maybe you meet them 6 months later at a party and you say, I know which brain type you have. Which brain type do I have? You have the taking brain type. Taking brain type? Why do you say that? Because I saw you at this party. You were pushing people around. You were dashing through. I saw that look in your eye. And the person says, actually, the problem was I had a runny stomach. So there's a lot of influencers to our behavior. And I haven't even started talking to you about all the values. We have different levels. There's 7 values that influence our behavior. I haven't even started talking about values yet. And so different brain types have different values, and it could cause this brain type to act different than another person with this brain type because they have different values. In the science of human behavior, we do what we do because of how we feel. We do what we do because of what we believe. We do what we do because of what we value. Number 4, we do what we do because of feedback. All right? I did a podcast this morning. I asked my friend Scott, how many people are predominantly motivated by their feelings? He said, I think maybe 90%. We do what we do because we feel. So if the preserving brain type is silent, how does that make the attracting brain type feel? They feel scared. Maybe the preserving brain type doesn't like me. Maybe they think I'm a failure. How does the preserving brain type affect the taking brain type? They become very impatient with it. Why don't you say what you're thinking, for crying out loud? Because I'm still thinking my way through it. I haven't thought of everything yet. I'm not going to speak unless I'm accurate. So we need to modify how we react to people based on how their thinking style. If you know somebody has a preserving brain type, don't push them. It's not going to go well. If somebody has an attracting brain type, don't expect them to know all the details. They're just seeing the big picture. They're living in the future. All right? So we give allowances for each other. And we utilize each other where we are best used. Now let me ask you, if you ask a fish to climb a tree, does it look like a success? No? But if you throw him in the water, he looks amazing. Same way with the brain types. Figure out what you are, where you shine. Figure out your partner and where they shine. Figure out the people in your group, be it congregation, business, whatever it is. Don't try to force people outside of their talents. And life is going to go a whole lot better. How does God fit into this? Number 7, people by nature tend to be very self-centered and proud. Pride can manifest as seeing myself either better or worse than I am. God made you in His image. So if you have a low opinion of yourself, that's actually pride. You're saying, no, God, you didn't make me right. I'm worse than what everybody thinks I am. That's pride. We don't think of pride as being that way. Is that a new thought for you, Marina? Very new thought, isn't it? Because we're standing up against God, who made me possibly as a preserving, responding brain type. I'm being overlooked to the point where I finally say, I guess I don't have much value in life. Yes, you have value. If you're sick and you have a lot of pain, do you want these people tending to you, or do you want these people tending to you? You want these people. The one that wants to preserve your life, the one that wants to respond to your problems. Now, my consulting coach, when we were going through all of this, there was a person who had a preserving, responding brain type who wanted to be a salesperson. That was part of their values. And I said, Steve, what can they sell? He said, Stuart, you all got to open up your minds. He said, who's going to sell wheelchairs to terribly overweight people? It's not going to be the attracting person. It's going to be the preserving people. They're going to be very kind. Okay? They're not going to be talking down to this person because they're so overweight. They're going to be saying, okay, we have an extra large wheelchair here, and it has an electric motor on it, and this is how you use it. They're going to be patient. They're going to teach them how to use it. There's a place for those people. My dad one time went to get a suit. He wanted to go to a wedding. And he said, this suit's a little too tight. And the salesman says, well, if you lose 10 pounds, it'd be fine. Do you think my dad went back to that place to buy a suit? No. He was very disgusted. He talked about that for weeks. Okay. So people tend to be self-centered and proud. This person, if they're living out of their selfish nature, they're going to get what they want by anger. This one's going to get what they want by shading the truth. It's not going to be exactly on course. They're going to tell some lies to get what they want, to make the story a little better. Now, supposing, I want to see where you are on your understanding level. Supposing somebody has a high D, high I brain type. They're an aggressive liar. Which career is gonna attract them? Politician. And most lawyers. Not all lawyers, right, Ann? Okay, supposing somebody has a high responding, that's their predominant brain type, and then next one is taking brain type. Which career are they going to be attracted to? What? Possibly a pastor, yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, a preserving brain type can be attracted to being a pastor because he wants to save. He wants to preserve.
Even lawyers.
Even lawyers. Yeah. Now, how about if you're a high taking and a high responding? It's something called a plant manager. It has to be done, and it has to be done right. They don't care so much about how you feel about it. They say, Kipchumba, this part that you're building, you didn't do it right. Go back and fix it. Because when you put it in the car or the airplane, it's going to make the airplane crash. You have to have plant managers in life, but they're not easy to get along with, let me tell you. Especially if they get into religious leadership positions, because they become very dogmatic about what they believe. They say, you have to be baptized by immersion in running water. That's the only way it can work properly. They have no allowances. Okay? And so when you have someone, I'm going to give you a sneak preview now. One of the values, the 7 values, is either people are high in authority or they're low in authority or they're somewhere in between. So supposing now, and then another value is your thinking style. You either have a black and white thinking style or you have what's called an abstract thinking style. And then you have all the way in between. And so if someone is a taking brain type and they're high in authority and they have a black and white thinking style, they tell you, Silas, skin the goat. This is exactly how you must skin the goat. And if you have an abstract thinking style like me, I've already thought of 4 other ways to skin the dadgum goat. You see? And so I'm going to say I don't have to skin that goat that way. But now that I've learned that I have that thinking style, defiant or abstract thinking style, I say, okay, fine, I'll skin the goat the way you want it this time. Next time I'll skin the goat the way I want to. You see? But if a pastor is high in authority, has a black and white thinking style, he says, Kipchumba, you have to wear this kind of clothes, and you have to act this way, and you have to do this, or you're going to hell. And I'm going to keep you from going to hell. So if I see you with other clothes on, I'm going to beat you. That's how religion has hurt people. They manipulate it. And if the attracting brain type is in that position, they're going to weave around. They attract a lot of people. A lot of people go to the showground. They say, we can do this, we can do that, we can do the next thing. And the people go home and then nothing has changed. They've taken Holy Communion, they've bought the holy water, they've bought the little handkerchief. The attracting brain type goes home with his pockets full, and they go home and can't pay the rent. And nothing has changed in their life. But they have attracted a lot of people. Has anybody heard of anybody like that? There's many. All right. So now you're starting to see the challenges. You're starting to see why people do what they do. But supposing you have problems, you're a responding brain type, and you see this big billboard, this good-looking guy, and he's offering, I'm going to do this seminar or this, what would you call a religious gathering? Crusade. I'm going to do this crusade. And you say, oh, you know what? Maybe that'll help me with my problems. Maybe I can go to that crusade. And they talk them into doing all kinds of stupid things. And when they get back home, no problem has been solved. So we want to be aware of what's really working and what's not working. Otherwise, it's like Ann said, in authority and responsibility. They take authority over you, but they don't take corresponding responsibility. And when you get home and your life is the same or worse, they say, oh, that's not my problem. You just didn't do it right. You didn't connect properly. You didn't use the holy water right. So people tend by nature to be self-centered and proud. Pride can manifest itself as seeing yourself better than you are or worse than you are. So if you see yourself as worse than you are, who are you arguing with? You're arguing with God because God created you in his image. He says you're perfect. I have a purpose for you. You need to come out of that thinking style. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 5. I don't think I'm going to read it all. This will be your assignment because we want to go to the funeral yet today. But connecting with God, and verse number 5 said, they will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from those people. When they act religious, but they reject the power, they don't access the power of God, those people are dangerous. They're going to do you harm. Because you're going to think that they're going to help you, but in reality, they have a different daddy. Satan is their daddy because they're still following their selfish nature. They're in it for what I can get out of it, not for adding value to humanity. Stay away from those people. Number 8, practice win-win relationships. Mark 12, 30 and 31. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Remember the story that the guy came to Jesus and he said, what's the greatest commandment? And he said, actually, there's two. There's two greatest commandments. Love God with all your heart. The second one is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment are greater than these. Suppose that we get to the judgment, and this is the whole test. Did you love the people of the other tribe? Even though they didn't think like you, they didn't look like you, and they didn't talk like you. Could you love those? Could you respect those people? Could you forgive them? The people of the other brain type who didn't think like you, they treated you rough in your opinion. Because the preserving brain type wants to save the candy, the taking brain type comes along and takes it. He said, if you're not going to eat it, I'll eat it. Was you able to forgive this person? And then set up some boundaries. Say, look, I think differently than you. I was saving that for tomorrow. It's not because I didn't want to eat it. It's just that I didn't want to gobble it all down today. Okay? So we have to learn how to communicate what our needs are and where people have violated us. And we need to have some honest dialogue, even though we have different thinking styles. Kipchumba, can you read those there in Mark 12?
Nasema ya kwamba nawe mpende Bwana Mungu wako kwa moyo wako wote na kwa roho yako yote na kwa akili yako zote na kwa nguvu zako zote. Na ya pili ndio hii, mpende jirani wako kama nafsi yako. Hakuna amri nyingine iliyo kuu kuliko hizi.
Okay, so I didn't talk about the preserving brain type, how they react in their selfish state. They can tend to be depressed. They're very thoughtful people. I remember one of the great composers of music. I can't remember if it was Vincent van Gogh or another one, but had tremendous bouts of depression. And there was a person, a friend, a sister, a neighbor who could talk to this person to help them get them out of their depression. And then they had tremendous highs. They had these inspirations where they've blessed many, many, many people because either their music or their writing or their speaking, whatever it is, was far beyond the normal. But sometimes the reason those kinds of people have depression is because they don't really connect with other people so well. Other people don't understand where they're coming from. So this guy was very, very depressed, and this lady was trying to talk him through it, and she'd done it many, many times. She talked him through his depression, and he said, there's nothing good about me. And she said, but there's so many things good about you. Your music is wonderful. It uplifts so many people. He said, but I'm ugly. And she said, no, I would love to have your ears because I could hear better. He had big ears. You know what that guy did? He took a knife and cut off his ear and sent it to her in the mail. Yeah, that's how depressed he was. And so you see different people think different ways. So when you have a certain brain type, you're going to have a corresponding positive and a corresponding negative. And that's where we need God, and we need to start being honest with ourselves. Maybe you're the one who can attract a big crowd. That's good. But just be accurate in what you teach. Don't be using them for your own benefit. Maybe you're the one that can write poetry and write music and design bridges, and you're a good doctor and you're a good architect. But don't allow fear to paralyze you. You know, some of these people, if they have the funds, they become what we call professional students. And at 30 and 35 and 40, they're still in college because they say, you know, I could learn one more thing, and that might help me in my career. And so they end up never doing anything because they're always learning. I don't know enough yet. Well, you could be a doctor, you could start, but I might make a mistake. Somebody might die. So let me go for 8 more years of college. You see how that works? And so the purpose of their life is never fulfilled. They never move into the faith. Then there's people who dash off, supposing you're high in thinking and high in attracting. It's like my consulting coach said, they jump off the cliff and build their wings on the way down. It's completely the opposite. The preserving brain type wants to have he wants to understand all the scenarios. And this one says, no, we just got to get it done. And the interesting thing is often those people don't crash. They make mistakes, they correct, they, what was that word you used, Dan? They shift, and they keep moving. So this person might actually get more done in their life if they can learn to accept, this is my brain type, I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm not going to throw myself away. And so they dash off into something, and they make a mistake, and they view it as a life lesson. At the end of the day, one person, this person down here, or this person, they're going to beat themselves. They're going to say, oh, I made a mistake. I should have thought about that. That was so stupid. I am such a worthless person. Oh, and the next day they don't want to go out and do anything. This person makes the same mistake. At the end of the day, they say, yes, I learned one more way how not to do something. I'm getting closer. Who was the one that made the light bulb? I think he attempted 100 times. Most people would give up, right? But he says, I learned one more way that it can't work. I'm getting closer to my goal. I know it's there, but this didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. There has to be another one. So I'm educating myself. You see the difference? And so this person here needs to learn that mistakes are not a life sentence. They're a life lesson. And I can learn from that. God can help you with any of these problems. So we love our neighbor as ourselves. We love the other tribes as ourselves. We love the other ethnicities. People of different skin color. People of different thought processes. People of different tribes. Supposing we get to the judgment bar and God said, did you love your neighbor as yourself? Yes, I did, all except for the stupid ones. Is that going to work? No. We have to love our neighbors ourselves. Now, I tell the story about the Good Samaritan, and the man was going from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among thieves who robbed him and stripped him and left him for dead. Okay, the Good Samaritan came there, and what did he do? Does anybody remember? He used 2 substances. Eunice? Oil. And what's the other one? Oil and wine. He poured in oil and wine. The Bible teaches us that we need to speak the truth in love. So the inspiration came to me that the wine is the anesthetic. It stings. it's the truth. The oil is the love. It makes you feel better. And so I find Peter laying in the ditch. I know that if I just pour oil, just love, he's not going to heal. He has to have some anesthetic. So I pour in some anesthetic and I pour in some oil. But who knows the right combination? Only God.
Yeah.
Only God. So as we speak the truth in love, we speak the truth to each other, but we use love. And we ask God. Maybe I meet somebody on the street and they've got a serious problem, and I want to speak the truth to them in love. And I ask God in my heart, what's the right combination? Because if it's a brain type of taking brain type, you have to be a lot tougher. You have to really, really get violent and speak the truth. Because they're tough. They can brush it off. If they're a preserving brain type, you have to pour in a lot of love because they've already know they've made a mistake. They're already beaten themselves for making the mistake. Why did I take this road? I should have known there was thieves on this road. I am so stupid. Now I don't have any money and they've taken all my clothes. You see, they already know they've made a mistake. So you pour in a lot of love and you say, another time it might be better not to take this road. That's your small dose of truth. I know that. I shouldn't have taken this road. I made a big mistake. And so only God can direct you by the Spirit as to how much truth and how much love is needed, how much oil and how much wine. And then we have to have the faith that if I use my money to help this person, God's going to return that money. But when we do that, those people are blessed. Now, do you do it for someone who is habitually taking the wrong road? Every week you go there? Every week they're robbed and beaten? No, then you become what's called an enabler. They already know ahead of time. I can do this because Mama Ann's going to come and take care of me. She's going to feed me. She's going to get me new clothes. I can forget my shoes somewhere. Mama Ann's going to buy me new ones. Is that helping that person? No. So, but maybe Mama Ann has the preserving brain type, and she says, I have to save this person, and it's my child. And so she's continually giving. Is that helping the child? No. We finally have to get tough, and we have to employ somebody who has a different thinking style. We say, I'm having this problem with my child, what can I do? And the other thinking style pours in a bunch of truth, and they said, well, stop being an enabler. Tell them to become responsible. I know, but I feel so bad when they come home at night, and they're hungry, and they're not thinking straight, and they need someplace to sleep. I just let them come in. Well, you'll have to let them sleep out in the ground then until they change, because there's consequences for your actions. Is this making sense? So we have to know that balance. And we don't know that balance on our own. We can learn over time, but the Holy Spirit always has the balance. So as you become keen to the Holy Spirit by faith, and you start accessing that, and you say, God, help me. I don't know the right balance of speaking the truth in love, oil and wine. Can you help me with this? And then if you make a mistake, don't lacerate yourself if you made a mistake. You can say, okay, what did I do wrong? God, help me. And the interesting thing is, as I've theorized, and I've talked to Scott about it, I don't think these people who say, Jesus told me X, Y, Z, the Holy Spirit told me this is what I must do. I don't think God always speaks that clearly to everyone. I think sometimes that's used as manipulation. Because if Silas comes and tells me, God told me you're going to loan me your car for a week. How can I argue with him? God told him, right? So sometimes when people are so forceful about what God told them, it's manipulation. Because how can you argue with somebody like that? You can't. You're arguing with God. And so we need to question each other. Because even if you have a problem and you're operating out of your old nature and you pray and you say, God, what do I do about this problem? And you have the responding brain type, your nature is going to tell you to have patience. Don't address this problem. Just be patient. Maybe it'll go away. If your nature is the taking brain type, you hear your nature, because it's not the new nature, it's still the old nature, saying, you need to go over there and force this issue. You need to push this person to do the right thing. You need to tell this person, full stop, get it done. That actually could be your nature telling you that. So, the wisdom that's from above is first pure, peaceable, easy to be entreated. What does easy to be entreated mean? It means that if Silas is going in the wrong direction and I say, Silas, I'm questioning if you're going in the right direction. He said, oh, what do you see that might not be working here? And he's teachable. How many of these powerful, authoritarian religious leaders are teachable? They want you to be teachable because they want to teach you. But how many of them allow you to question what they're doing? None.
No, if you question, you are thrown out.
You're pushed out.
You just go out.
Yeah. There is a statement that says, if the system is based on a lie, the biggest threat to the system is you living the truth, and you must be dealt with. So some of these religious organizations are based on a lie. They say, we are the only true believers.
Yes.
And if you question that, you have to be thrown out, because you're a threat to that system.
Or you become a black sheep.
Yes. So, number 9, we are accountable to our Creator. Philippians 2, 10, and 11 said, at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow. In heaven, and on earth, and under the earth, those who are passed on, and every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Sometimes we become intimidated by leaders who have a taking brain type, they're high on authority, and they have a black and white thinking style, because we have a need to be accepted and connected. So we do what we have, and we forget our God. I asked a pastor one time, I said, when I get to the judgment, are you going to be standing there beside God to tell him, don't let Stuart in because he didn't follow our teachings? He didn't like that very good. He didn't like that very good. But a month later he says, you're right, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be in the same line. My knee is going to bend also. You see, I'm tough. I'm a people person, but I've learned to be tough because life has taught me to be that way. So I ask hard questions. I ask questions that most people are afraid to ask. Kipchumba, do you read that verse, Philippians 2, 10 and 11?
Ili kwa jina la Yesu kila goti lipigwe, la vitu vya mbinguni na vya duniani na vya chini ya nchi, na kila ulimi ukiri ya kuwa Yesu Kristo ni Bwana, kwa utukufu wa Mungu Baba.
So, number 10, this knowledge should be used to promote better relationships in all areas of life. People do what they do because of how they feel. If you value relationships, you will adjust your behavior accordingly. How many of you value relationships? How many of you have learned something today that will help you adjust your behavior? Praise the Lord. I'm happy. I hope there's, if this video helps you, share it with somebody else.
Yes.
God bless you.